Welcome aboard for another video.
Thanks, Conductor Keith. Hi. So the purpose of today's video is this little locomotive. It is literally a parts box locomotive. My friend Steve in England sent me this. And, well, actually, he sent me a little box full of parts. So it's been an interesting sort of puzzle to put together. I decided, why not? I'm going to go whole hog on this little tiny engine to honor Steve for sure. And so it's operated by Pico. You see on the back there, it says Pico. This fob operates the Pico radio control system in there that they have been putting in their little General Electric 25-ton locomotive. So follow along as I put this thing together from start to finish, right down to the forward and reversing LED lights. I head scratched my way through a lot of this, so hopefully pick up a few tips and tricks. We'll see. Anyway, happy railroading, and thank you for dropping by. Okay, so before we get started in the video itself, I want you to know that I'm recording this after all the other takes of this video were made. Because whilst I was making this video, I had no idea who manufactured the parts of this. I didn't know where to find instructions, all that sort of thing. Because my friend Steve likes to, over time, he buys stuff and to kit bash. And he's a great kit basher. He's very creative. Sometimes he scratch builds. And so what he sent to me were parts enough to make a locomotive, but I had no idea what they were, and he couldn't remember either at first. So it turns out that all the parts to make this locomotive came from a company called EV North in the UK. The motor in here is apparently rated for 6 volts. Now, I've run this for 20 minutes straight, full power at 18 volts, and the motor has not been warm. So I think that's okay, but maybe I'll back off during regular operations of my switching around the railroad and stuff. Now, it's a 23-to-1 gear reduction, which makes really slow. 6 volts would barely creep along. And apparently you can get a motor and gear reduction unit that has a gear reduction such that the locomotive will be much faster. So I might try to source that and replace it in here. The reason I chose W1, and these are dry transfer letters, is to call this Works Locomotive 1. So my friend Steve in England sent me a box of loose bits enough to probably make a locomotive. It's got a 3D printed body and other bits. And so I'm just going to sit down here now and ferret out how to put the thing together. So far it's been fun. Just wondering what these blocks were for and all that. And just like putting together a puzzle with no instructions. I saw there were 2 washers there, and I figured the washers were for this, but there's only 2, and I don't know if I'll use them somewhere else. So I fished out of my, keep everything jar some washers. And there you go. This is the beginning of the chassis, I guess. Now there's 3 screw holes right there, and this looks like the floor, and it's got 3 screw holes. So I imagine that goes over there. Now I don't have any extra screws here, but I've got lots and lots of little screws. So I'm going to screw that on there. I guess that's the next step. Here's the kit Steve sent me. That's 12 volts, so that's extremely low geared. Only problem is, it's hung up. So that piece of track that crosses there hangs up on the bottom of the motor block. I'm going to grind down the motor block bottom a little bit. It's literally just a smidge. So there you go. 12 volts. I bet it has a lot of torque though. 12 volts. I might actually rig in more than that. I might put it up to something like 18. Uh-oh. Crash. I've got that. I'm going to grind some. That's as much as I'm going to get out of this thing. All right, so I've ground the bottom down. Yeah, went through the switches no problem. Awesome. So these are obviously built for a slightly larger scale. If you compare to my Mammon Brunel. So I'm going to cut a bit off the bottom. So far, so good. Looks appropriately backwoodsy. I just bent some soft stainless steel wire to make some steps. Might not look pretty, but that will contain the batteries and everything. At least some drivers can get in there and it has some character. Actually, when I think about it, given the sound of it, I might just keep it as an electric engine and say that Lord Michael's experimenting with battery-powered engine. And the wood in there encases a pile of batteries. The Friar is here, of course, but we'll see more of him later. The slow speed is appropriate for a battery-powered works loco. Through the course of normal testing, it became obvious that I needed to add some weight to the front wheels. The front wheels are the only driven ones. So I hammered some lead to this shape and glued it in there. So I went to Amazon and I got these LED lights that are rated for 18 volts, up to 18 volts. They light at 9 volts, I already tested that. They already come with a resistor built in. And now I'm going to install them in this locomotive. And this is the same size as the light, but not the base of the light there. So hopefully I'll just be able to push it in. All right, so I've got the light in. It was a press fit. I did put a teeniest dollop of Gorilla Glue to hold it. See if I can do this with my hand here. Here. Now for the rear light. So this is the Pico radio control. Very simple. It's all in one system here. It's all screw in. The batteries have to fit down in there. I don't know, for 3 of these to fit down in there, that'll fit to the side there, but this won't fit in there. So, but it will fit under the hood there. So I've taken the hood and it press fits on there quite nice and stays. This did require carefully breaking through the glue that held it on. All right, now everything is together in there. It's all in. The whole RC system is in there now. I've added a little extra detail of the cup and the spoon so that the crew of the locomotive can have their tea. So we have Lord Michael in there, and we've got Vihan on the controls. And this is a Pico radio control. I'll just hook that up. Lord Michael is quite happy. And honestly, you know, and this is the fob I use, this brings a huge smile to my face. There we are now at full speed, which again is probably like a scale speed for this kind of little engine. Lord Michael has his teacup. He's happy. Actually, I was wrong. That's the speed we just left at the last shot, but that's full speed. Very low geared. Oh, Henry, wasn't it wonderful for Stephen to send such a box of parts for Terry to play around with? It was indeed, Marge, yes. Yes, it was indeed, and we all know that Terry's a tinkerer. Now, one thing I really like about this style of coupling, and it's the same kind of coupling as on my Shay and a couple of other locomotives that I have, is that you can put chain on there, bar, but I also took this KD coupler and I put it on here. I built this bracket to go on my Shay, and it's exactly by happenstance the same spacing. So I take my little brass piece here, put it down through, and there you go. And it is actually at the right height. So I can also occasionally move a rail car with KD couplers. So Lord Michael has determined that the conversion to battery power of this little formerly gas mech locomotive is a success, and therefore he's asked Vian to drive it around the loop as a celebration. And of course, he's asked Henry and Marge to go around the loop with him. And of course, our beloved friar and conductor Keith is joining Lord Michael in his rail inspection chariot. Of course, the Pencross Railway of Eastern Ontario's locomotive and maintenance crew is here to have a watch. So here comes the train crossing Whitson Bridge, which is the Friar's favorite train watching location. Of course, he's not there, he's on board the train. I should mention that my creative friend Steve also made this rail inspection chariot. Eagle eyes will notice the loop ends of old guitar strings on the control panel. So now that we've done a great journey around, everyone's going to stop here at the cafe. They're going to get off and have a nice drop of tea and some treats.